Welcome to Around the Weird. Here's your host, the museum curator of the strange and unusual, Mr. Nothing.
Thank you, mysterious voice, and welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I talk about all the unusual and out of the ordinary literature that I have found in my travels. Today, it is Poetry Thursday, so I wanted to talk about some poetry that interested me lately. And as I said in my monthly TBR video, I wanted to talk about the holidays, not just Christmas, but the other festive days that exist in the month of December, including Hanukkah, and hopefully, if I can find a poem about it, Kwanzaa. And I think I found a pretty interesting poem worth talking about. It is a poem about Hanukkah, of course. I am referring to Light the Festive Candles by Aileen Fisher. For those who don't know, Aileen Fisher is an American author who lived throughout the 1900s. She was known for writing children's literature, which included children's poems and young adult fiction, stuff like that. And people have acclaimed her poetry, said great things about it, noting that she talks about nature and things that children often focus on. And I do believe that today's poem is meant to be educational for children, which is always nice. Poetry shouldn't just be for adults, even though adults are super cool and children can sometimes be smelly and annoying. We should still make poetry for children, which Aileen did, as well as other notable poets like Shel Silverstein and Jack Prelutsky, I believe is how you say his name. Some of my favorite poets from when I was younger. Pretty interesting poet. Without further ado, let's talk about this poem, though. I will read it, do a little bit of analysis, and we will move on from there. Light the festive candles. For Hanukkah. Light the first of 8 tonight, the farthest candle to the right. Light the first and second too, when tomorrow's day is through. Then light 3 and then light 4, every dusk 1 candle more. Till all 8 burn bright and high, honoring a day gone by, when the temple was restored, rescued from the Syrian lord. And an 8-day feast proclaimed, the festival of lights, well named, to celebrate the joyous day when we regain the right to pray to our one God in our own way. So that was Light the Festive Candles in terms of analysis. It's a pretty simple poem. Aileen Fisher is outlining the candles on the menorah, specifically 8. How 8 are lit in the Festival of Lights to commemorate what happened in this historical event that's being celebrated. For those who are unaware of their Jewish history, which often includes me, but the Hanukkah is commemorating a time during the Maccabean revolt, when Israel was overtaken by foreign parties. I don't quite know. I think it might have been Greece or something like that, but they had taken over Israel, and so the people who lived there didn't like the rulers. I think they even said Syrian lord here, and so the Maccabean revolt commemorates the Maccabean, if I'm pronouncing that right, Maccabean freedom fighters, the Jewish rebel fighter people who rose up and took back Jerusalem. Later on, the war would end for the side of the Jewish people, which is always nice. Of course, the Jewish people would continue fighting with Rome and other such empires for a long time afterwards. But the Festival of Lights commemorates this minor but important victory of when they finally were able to reclaim Judea or Jerusalem, I think it is, which is always nice. And the typical story is that each candle on the menorah commemorates like the time when the the festival of lights. Or like during when the temple, before the temple, while the temple people in the temple were still captive, like they had enough, like there was enough oil on the candle or something like that to last only one day, but it ended up lasting 8 days, among many other things. So I do like this poem in that Aileen Fisher is capturing that moment of Jewish history, and being celebratory and being like, we can finally praise our beloved God again, and we don't have to be under the thumb of these horrendous rulers that we don't like. So from a Jewish perspective, it's very celebratory. And from a child's perspective, you might get a better understanding of what Hanukkah is. Now, it doesn't completely explain everything to know about Hanukkah. I feel like you would need to do a little more in-depth research to get a good understanding of that. But it's a fair understanding, especially in a time where so much time is spent on Christmas and few people actually pay attention to Hanukkah outside of those who are already Jewish. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Light the Festive Candles by Aileen Fisher. Pretty solid poem, one that is worth reading, as I usually say. So I'll put a link to it in the description if you have any thoughts on it, or if you read it before, you just want to say something about my review here, or my highlighting of the poem here, do so below in the comments. Let's have a discussion about this. Otherwise, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that more people can find out about this poem or Poetry Thursday if they don't already know about that, so they can check out more of those videos. And until then, I wish you the best of luck in your weird and Hanukkah travels. Farewell.